Zweidler-McKay with ZM Coach, where we're all about helping you take your career to the next level, whether that's moving up in your own organization or going somewhere else. We help you prepare for and land that next promotion. So today I want to talk to you about resilience. A recent article in Harvard Business Review by Andrea Ovens cited a really interesting study on resilience. The study was done by Sarah Bond and Gillian Shapiro, and they surveyed 835 employees in Great Britain from a range of companies, so public, private, nonprofit. And what they were asking was sort of what people felt had had the biggest impact on their resilience. And the responses were surprising. People didn't cite any of the big crises that make the headlines in the newspapers that you might think about, right? Like the London tube bombings or the economy or any of that. No, 75% of the people surveyed said that managing difficult people or office politics at work was the biggest strain on their resilience. The second highest response was also about work. It was when the volume or pace of work stretches me to my limits. And the third was when I feel I'm being criticized personally. In other words, the top three responses all had something to do with getting along at work. Now, I've spent the past 25 years working with organizations and coaching people who are dealing with these kinds of situations. And what I've found is that there are sort of three core strategies that help people respond to those situations and maintain their personal resilience. And those are building up your personal internal reserves. So when those situations occur, you have the energy and the strategies to cope with them. Second is being able to see the patterns so that you don't take them personally. And third is being able to communicate in a way that reduces conflict while still helping you meet your goals. So let's take each one of those in turn and kind of talk about what that looks like. So building up your internal reserves means making sure that you've got that internal executive presence, because your resilience on the inside has a major impact on how you can show up with other people. And I help clients work on this by becoming really mindful of their internal thoughts, their internal patterns, and then teaching them how to shift out of those disempowering thoughts into a way of thinking that's going to give them more energy and make it easier for them to see what's possible and what they can accomplish in the face of whatever the challenges that they're up against. We also look at daily habits and routines and help them to create healthy habits so that they can maintain their energy, because our emotional energy depends a lot on our physical health and our physical energy. So that's another piece that we take a look at. The second strategy is being able to see patterns so that you don't take them so personally. And I call this building perspective. So anytime people are together, there are some explicit dynamics, how people behave toward one another on the surface. But there are also these implicit dynamics, these underlying patterns that those behaviors can represent. And in organizational life, there are some really predictable inherent patterns that show up. There are various power plays that tend to emerge in different business circumstances, different power plays that tend to show up when people are working together in different ways. And the problem is most people don't know about them. And so they get caught up in those patterns and they take them personally. And the problem with that is then when you're in the pattern and you're taking it personally, that can have a big impact on your self-esteem, and that's what drains your reserves. But when you know about them, when you know about these patterns, it's like you have a secret map that you can use to navigate through the organization. So with that map, you can see what's happening and you can move through it without taking it personally and without as much emotional pain and drain. So it's like teaching people a really thoughtful way of playing politics without doing any of the yucky Machiavellian sort of power dynamic power plays that people sometimes think they need to do to be political in their organization. It's really more about how to navigate them and how to use your own strengths and your own style to move through them effectively. Finally, the third strategy is really being able to communicate in a way that reduces conflict while still meeting your goals. Of all the tools and all the methods that I've come across in the years that I've worked with organizations and with leaders, one that has proven most useful is SAVVY, or the System for Analyzing Verbal Interaction. It was developed by Yvonne Agazarian and Anita Simon as a research tool, and SAVVY gives us a way to uncover those patterns I just described. So what happens is that people tend to talk with one another in a certain way in each of the different patterns that show up in organizational life. And Savvy gives us a way to see that so we can identify the pattern. And then most importantly, we can choose effective strategies for moving through them, specifically strategies around what to say and how to say it. So even if you don't learn all the patterns or know the patterns or see the patterns, Savvy is still extremely helpful in helping you know what to do when you're in conflict with someone. It helps you know how to influence people and how to make the case effectively. For example, when you're dealing with overwhelm and you're trying to negotiate for more resources or you're trying to reduce your workload. It also helps you respond when you feel criticized. So in those survey, respondents said that all three of those things were a drain on their resilience. And one of the best things about Savvy is that it helps you build those soft skills that can be so important for getting ahead in your career, but it teaches them in a way that's really analytical and logical. So too much of the time, I think training on soft skills kind of rely on you already having them in the first place to even understand what they're telling you to do. But Savvy doesn't. Savvy literally trains your ear to hear what's happening and then shows you what you can do next to change the tone of the conversation so that you can move it in the direction that you need it to go. That's why, excuse me, coming up in May, I'm going to be offering a special workshop where we're going to be using Savvy to learn about giving and receiving feedback. I'm co-leading that workshop with Ben Benjamin, who's one of the co-authors of a great book that uses Savvy at its core called Conversation Transformation. So Ben and I are going to be building on the building blocks that are in conversation transformation and then using that to look specifically at how you can give feedback that moves people forward in their careers, that people want to hear, that people experience as a gift and not a criticism. And we're also going to be working with you on how you can use those communication tools to unpack it when somebody has been critical of you or when somebody's giving you feedback that's maybe vague or hard for you to understand, so that you really walk away from that interaction with something actionable that you can try so that you can keep improving your own performance. It's going to be a wonderful workshop. We're running it over a series of days, so it should fit easily into your schedule. You can come in the mornings, go to work in the afternoons, depending on your time zone. And it'll be super interactive. You will have opportunities to roll up your sleeves and really practice. So you'll walk out of that workshop with really practical skills that you've tried on, that you've tried out, and that you can feel comfortable using back in your workplace. If you're interested, you can register for the webinar at zmcoach.com/savvyfeedback. That's www.zmcoach.com/savvy, SAVI -feedback, FEEDBACK, and take a look there. You'll get more information about the training and you can register. And if you register before March 1st, you'll get a discount. We're offering a $300 discount for early registration. The program is in May, but if you register by March 1st, you can save some money and take your career to the next level by learning how to give and receive feedback in a savvy way. I look forward to seeing you there. Hope you can make it. Take care.